Okay, let's dive into this. We've got a really interesting source today, this booklet, Veritas Theater's Cursed Curios.
Yeah, it comes from a D&D one-shot, The Forgotten Self.
Yeah.
But what we want to do is pull out these 5 magic items for you.
Right. For you listening, how can you take these ideas, these mechanics, and use them in your own campaigns, even if you've never heard of the original adventure?
Exactly. Because these aren't your standard +1 swords. They're all woven together with this theme of, well, memory identity.
And the cost, right, the cost of using powerful, strange magic. If you want treasure that feels less like just stats and more like, actual story hooks, this is a good place to look.
Definitely. So let's jump in. First one, the Mask of the Vanishing Line.
Ooh, evocative name. It's described as this dual-faced mask, porcelain, one side calm, the other cracked.
And the lore connects to this performer, Marlowe the Forgotten Star. He used it, and bits of himself just vanished over time. It's a rare item, needs attunement.
Okay, so how does it work in game terms? What can you, the player, do with it?
2 main things. Role reversal once a day. It's kind of like disguise self, but the source says it adds this, psychological weight. You almost become a temporary persona.
And the other?
Emotion surge. Once per long rest, you can cast fear or calm emotions, totally silently. Very sneaky.
Nice for social encounters or infiltration, but
Yeah.
you mentioned a cost.
Ah, yes. The memory cost.
Yeah.
This is the kicker. Every single time you use either ability, you lose a piece of your backstory.
Just gone. Like what kind of detail?
A specific bond, maybe an ideal, the name of your mentor, why you started adventuring. The source gives this example. A rogue uses it to sneak into a noble's party.
Yeah.
But after a few uses, maybe they forget the person they were trying to save, or the reason they hated that noble in the first place.
Bro.
It erodes your why.
Wow. That hits hard. That's a player choice with real teeth. Okay, so that one makes you forget. What about the next one? The threat of rewritten truth. Sounds like it goes the other way.
It does, in a really unsettling way. This one's uncommon. It looks like this shimmering, almost invisible silver thread, made by someone called Bella Mora, who supposedly used it to change her own past.
Change her past. How?
Through its main property, Truth Weave. Once a week, you can use it to fundamentally alter a memory or a backstory element. For yourself, or maybe someone else.
Wait, mechanically, can you actually change your sheet?
Yes. The source says you can literally swap out a background trait, ideal, bond, or flaw. You can decide, actually, this key event in my past happened differently.
That is, whoa, massive narrative potential. But there has to be a downside.
Oh, yeah. The cost of lies.
Yeah.
After using it, you get disadvantage on all wisdom insight checks for 100 d4 days. You've messed with truth, so now you're worse at seeing it in others.
Makes sense. Like that warlock example in the source material, changing their pact origin and maybe confusing their patron. That could spiral.
Exactly. Okay, next up, the Stays Whisper.
A wand this time.
Yep, a rare wand. Needs attunement by a bard, sorcerer, or warlock. Looks like a thin black rod, red tassel, and it supposedly whispers faintly all the time.
Creepy. Where's it from?
Said to be carved from a beam in the Veritas Theater, soaked in secrets. Its main thing is silent casting.
Meaning?
No verbal components needed for any spell cast through it. 0. Think of the possibilities.
Huge for subtle magic users.
Yeah.
Anything else?
It also has Haunting Echo, 3 charges per day. When you target someone with a spell, you can use a charge to force them to make a wisdom save instead of whatever save the spell normally uses.
Okay. And if they fail?
Spell works, plus they become shaken disadvantage on their next action. Imagine using suggestions silently, making the target doubt their own motives because they failed a wisdom save they didn't expect and no one saw you cast anything.
Adds a real layer of paranoia. Very fitting for a theater theme. Okay, now for something very rare. The Ticket to Nowhere.
Just sounds ominous, doesn't it? It's literally a crumpled ticket, gold edge that says nowhere. It's a consumable.
Like one use.
One use. The source calls it a metaphysical ticket from the theater, for when you're truly desperate.
So what's it do? Get you a seat.
Hey, no. Tear to escape. You tear the ticket, and bam, you instantly shift to the ethereal plane for 100 d4 rounds.
Instant panic button. Get out of jail. Free card.
Pretty much. Escape that dragon's breath. Avoid the killing blow.
But there's a but, isn't there?
Huge one. Return with loss. When you pop back into your original plane, you lose a memory. And not just any memory. Something tied deeply to your emotional core.
Oh no. Like what?
The example given is chilling. A fighter escapes certain death, but returns, and maybe doesn't remember why they trust their companions. The memory of that bond is just gone.
That's devastating. Is saving your skin worth forgetting who you love or fight for?
That's exactly the question it forces you, the player, to ask. Okay, one last item. The Mirror of the Role Forgotten.
A mirror. Sounds classic.
A rare hand mirror. But when you look into it, your reflection isn't quite right. It's subtly different. Comes from a ritual by the chorus trying to reclaim lost parts of themselves.
Okay. So what does it do? Show you a different you?
Sort of. Alternate self, once per day for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
You choose an alternate version of yourself, maybe one who took a different path, a past life even, and you gain a feature from them.
Like, what kind of feature?
A skill proficiency you don't have, maybe proficiency with a different weapon, or even a cantrip from another class list.
Okay, that's flexible. But the risk. There's always a risk.
Mirror's Grip. Every time you use it, make a wisdom save. Fail. The source says there's personality bleed. The GM might have your alignment flicker or your behavior subtly change, influenced by that other self you channeled.
Like the cleric example. Grabbing Eldritch Blast from a warlock self and then having a crisis of faith.
Exactly that. It bakes internal conflict right into the item. These items, they all really push beyond just numbers on a sheet.
You can really see the connection, can't you? Identity, change, loss. The source mentions using them as narrative rewards, right? Like after a big sacrifice.
Yeah, or maybe specific NPCs linked to the theater, like Marlowe or Bellamora, might offer one, probably with some kind of creepy warning attached. They're definitely more plot device than simple loot drop.
They really challenge you to think about what your character is willing to pay for power or escape. It's less about the bonus and more about the story that comes with the bonus.
Totally. And it makes you, the player, really consider what defines your character. What parts are you willing to risk?
That final thought from the source material really sums it up too, about how every item in the Veritas Theater carries a line from a forgotten script.
Right. The question isn't just, do I want this power? It's, do I still remember why I want it? Something to think about when you hand out your next magic item.